Hey everyone, I'm Scarlett Kibbey and I'm coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida. I am here to talk about the Florida Medicaid waiver, specifically the Medicaid waiver for developmentally disabled people. First of all, what is a waiver? A waiver is a government-funded program that is designed to fill in the gaps where health insurance may leave off. This waiver is a non-income based waiver as well as a lifelong program. What I mean by that is once someone begins receiving services, they will receive them for the rest of their life. So let's talk about who qualifies for the waiver. Here in Florida, we have some very specific categories within the developmental disability waiver. Those categories are autism spectrum disorder, intellectual disability with an IQ of 70 or below, Down syndrome, Phelan-McDermid syndrome, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, Prader-Willi, as well as high risk for developmental disability between the ages of 3 and 5. So now that we know who qualifies, let's talk about what services or what the waiver actually does. So the waiver pays for supports and services to allow a person with a disability to remain in the home and in the community as opposed to an institutionalized setting. Those supports and services can range anywhere from respite care in the family home to behavioral therapy, occupational therapy, group home placement, supported employment coaching, supported living coaching, environmental adaptations to your home or your car to make things more accessible for your child or loved one with a disability. The list of services and supports actually goes on and on. It's way too much for me to give you tonight. But let me tell you how that looks or works in real life. So let's take an example. We have a little girl who's, say, 7 years old, and her parents applied for waiver services, and she begins receiving waiver services. The first thing that happens is she would qualify for Medicaid. Medicaid would begin covering all of the behavioral therapy, the occupational, physical, speech, any other types of therapies. Medicaid would also cover what's called personal care services that would allow for childcare, skilled childcare, to come into the home while mom and dad are working and trying to earn a living. What the waiver would actually cover at that age would be respite services, or basically childcare in the home. Again, skilled childcare in the home. So let's fast forward a little to see what the waiver does at different age groups. So let's say your daughter turns 21 and she is no longer able to receive the services that Medicaid had been covering, the therapies, the personal care services. She's on the waiver. So in this case, waiver steps in and begins covering those services and therapies if they are still needed. Fast forward till your daughter turns 22. She's no longer in the public school system. So what do? She's not quite ready to be out on her own. You're not comfortable with her being home alone, but you still have to work. Well, this is where waiver again would step in and either pay for companion services to take your daughter into the community, or a day training program, or supported employment. This is where the waiver really, really becomes important. So as your child gets older, their needs will change and the waiver will grow with them, which is honestly, that's the best part of the waivers to me. So now that we've looked at who qualifies, what a waiver is, and what it kind of looks like, let's talk about the misconceptions. The first misconception I hear is that it is an income-based program. It is not income-based. In fact, at least in my theory, it's for the people who are paying taxes and don't qualify for any of the income-based programs. That's who the waiver helps the most. At least that's what I've seen. The second big misconception is that it's only for adults. This is not accurate. I have worked with children who were as young as 5 all the way up until age 70. So the waiver is not based on age. However, it is a lifelong program, and those services will stay with your child for their entire life. The third misconception that I hear the most and is the most disturbing is that the waiting list is too long and it's not worth the time and effort. Yes, the waiting list is almost 23,000 people. However, filling out that application and securing your spot on the waiting list is a must. We never know when the state may fully fund the waiver, and all of a sudden these people who are on the waiting list would begin receiving services. And B, until that happens, you can qualify under crisis to receive services. So I guess my message to all of you who are watching and listening is that you need to look into the waivers in your own state. Go to waiver.org and check and see what waivers are available to you. Do the legwork. I know it's a hassle and you guys have very full lives, but submit the applications and all of the paperwork and secure your spot on the waiting list. The biggest piece of advice I can give you. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for listening.